Have you ever had one of those tiny moments, just a flicker in your eye, when you thought, did that just happen? Not a big thing, not dramatic, but something that made you inside go, ooh. And you move forward with your day a little bit differently than you had a few moments ago. I'm going to share 8 of those little moments. Some of them are things that happen right here in my little house. Sometimes when I'm out and about, and other times just about the way I live. I don't have any recommendations here, no tips either. That's not what I'm about. Just sharing a few little magical moments, times when I get sparkle brain in my home, in my life. But perhaps you'll recognize something there for you too. Let me get started. It will be totally likely for me to get going on this topic and I'll forget to ask you to subscribe. So please do, it really helps out this channel because it tells YouTube that this kind of information, the discussions we have, the sense of community, we really enjoy those and they're important. And alike, those help me personally. They give me a kind of satisfied feeling. Of course they do. So if you hit that like button, that'll make me very happy. Onwards. My first item is something as simple as maybe you can't even imagine. I feel so privileged in having this home. It seems so unlikely when it came into my life that I'd ever own a home at this stage in my life. Sure, back in the days I'd had homes. I was a young professional in those days with the ordinary kinds of ambitions. Maybe a family of my own, a house, some solidity in one place. Those were the things I craved. But it didn't generally work out that way. Did I have a house? Yes. That little detail in all of the fantasy did come true for me. But in the last couple of decades, that tended to slip away. So here I was, those of you who know my story, in a very unlikely place to have a home of my own. And then suddenly the world evolved and here it was. That's a much longer story. From the moment I moved in, I couldn't get enough of the sunshine darting, flickering, creeping across my brand new birch floor. Oh, it was so lovely. I never anticipated having floors that pretty. And the light just seemed to dance. I could sit here for hours in my camp chair. That was the only piece of furniture I owned for weeks. Why? Because I just wanted to sit here and admire the floors. They were so pretty. And the sunlight on them was so spectacular. I wish I could take a picture of it for you now. But now I have furniture and rugs. It's not the same, or at least not quite. I still love that light. After all those years, living in dingy rooms that seemed cramped, musty, a bit grubby. Those were years where I lived cooped up in rooms with carpet I wasn't sure how many people had trodden on. Maybe it had been years before they'd been cleaned. I didn't want to guess. The windows were grimy, generally, but nothing I could do to clean them up. Perhaps the paint was peeling on the frames. Those rooms felt stuffy, as though I could never get enough air into them. And that's how I lived. It was survival, not really living, just waiting for something different to happen. So when I designed this house, my entire south side is windows. Sometimes it's a little too much, but I can never get enough of the light in here. The light playing across my floors. Even after all these years, it's coming up on 6. I still get great pleasure from it. Oh, it's a delight. My second little moment, and I've had this my whole life, it's tea time. Not just a cup of tea, although I do love my tea. Yeah, mostly tea bags these days. I don't seem to be able to find good loose tea, and I can't be bothered when I'm by myself. Here's what I found out after I moved to the US, and I really never got out of my old habits. I have tea time in my genes. In my experience, Americans drink tea like it's just a drink. A few gulps, and they're done. Move on with life. In my world, tea time is a lot more than that. In particular, it's about having a little sit, an easygoing time, often a chat, but a time to check out for a moment, settle down, and regroup before the hours in the late afternoon. For me, The genes also tell me to eat cake and cookies. Try to get away from that. But yes, that craving comes calling every day, 4 o'clock on the hour. Funny how that works. So what's been my experience with tea time over my life that I love to recapture that experience? For most of it, and every time I visit England, I grew up English. It's always involved the little sit. In times not too long ago, you had a trolley in the drawing room. Someone would pour, usually the hostess, and your tea would be in cups with saucers. No, you didn't have to be too dainty, but it was a nice little sit. The teapot, the teacups, and the cake and the biscuits, and likely something else. It would be rolled in on the trolley or brought in on a tray. One of the more recent times I remember was just that situation when I was visiting one of my godmothers, and I was with my mother. It was the three of us and my young niece. We sat there enjoying this trolley moment, relaxed, talking about something we could never talk about at dinner or lunch or even breakfast. We were reciting children's poetry by A.A. Milne. There was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. And then there was, maybe I don't remember this right, James Morrison, Weatherby George Dupree, took great care of his mother, though he was only 3. Oh yeah, we had at it. And then we did The Owl and the Pussycat by Edward Lear. The Owl and the Pussycat went to sea in a beautiful green pea boat. Oh, I don't remember them exactly, I'm sure. But you get the idea. We sat there so excited that we could remember the words of these children's poems. Yes, that poet was the person who created Winnie the Pooh. It's funny how those things stick to you. That was one of my more recent versions of tea time. What a good memory. But there's another one. The last time I went to England, I was driving my ancient godmother around. She was 90. And she wanted to take me to a place that she had stayed in for holidays during the war. That would be World War II. So I took her there. It was up a narrow lane in Yorkshire. 20 minutes or so, 25, we reached an inn, an old inn, a pub. And as it turns out, that's where she spent her holidays. At age 10 or so, they had picnics on the banks of the stream nearby. Her brothers would be building little dams. You know how fun that can be. Her favorite thing to do was to gather wildflowers. At any rate, that's where we were. We went into that inn. The last time she had been there was 80 years ago. Oh, the innkeeper was so impressed. And it didn't look that much different, according to her, from the way it looked then. Incredible memories. And we sat there, we had our little chat and a quick little conversation with the other people in the room. They couldn't believe she had been there 80 years ago. And then we had a wonderful fresh Bakewell tart. The only time I had ever had it before, it was quite dry. Oh, this was perfect. Magnificent. Plain. It's not a fancy tart, but nice little taste. Warm. Good pastry. And a sturdy cup of tea to go with it. And so we went on our way. That was one of the last times I saw her, and I miss her so much. But tea time, yes, it's built into my genes, evidently. That craving sets in at 4:30. It'll set in about 15 minutes now. Instead, my refrigerator is kicked in, and it makes a nasty noise. You'll have to excuse that. But all of that, all the experience of tea time, it's not about just drinking a cup of tea. It's about having a little sip, taking a break from the day, enjoying something simple. Oh, it can be fancy, but in my life, that would be a rare treat. Yeah, just having a little sip, a little bite to eat, a moment, not just a couple of mouthfuls of tea. My third little moment that makes my brain sparkle. You all know about Brekie, yes, my doggy. He can make my brain sparkle most any time of day, but this point especially. When I come in through the front door, that's his treat time. And I discovered, I don't know how I did this, serendipitously though, I let him choose his treat. I gave him 3 options. I put them down on the floor, and he gets to pick one. And the funniest thing, he just swats that package. And I never know what the criteria are. Does he pick the one always on the right? Does it have a certain smell? Is he attracted to a different flavor today than the day before? I have no idea. All I know is that the packages get used up at about the same time. So what is his rationale? No idea. But the funny thing is how he chooses. He just swats one. And that's the one I give him. I dramatically open the package and issue it. He has to sit, and I pop it in his mouth. Now, good question. How long do I have to be out before he gets one of those treats? Head it out. Let's give this a whirl. Stay there. Yeah, no. No. Oh, you're glad to see me? I am so glad. Here you go. Okay, which one? Which one? That one? Okay. Funniest thing, I can just step 1 foot outside the door and come back in, and he thinks he's entitled. I don't have to be gone all day. Half a day, an hour, running errands, working, none of that. I could have been mowing, he could have been watching me mow. The moment I come in the door, he thinks it's treat time. He hangs out by the treat box. He rubs it with his nose. He slaps it with his paw. It's funny as heck. My fourth little favorite moment. I love unpacking packages. It always seems so magical when I open them up. I feel like a kid. And Brekie gets his nose in there too. But nothing would compare to what happened recently when I got a new computer. My old one was a bit limiting when it came to YouTube adventures. It was driving me crazy, to tell you the truth. So I ordered a new one. I've had a desktop and no laptop for several years now. I don't have a TV, but I have a lovely big screen computer, and it's purple. At any rate, this box arrived, just recently, a few weeks ago. A huge box, and then a box within a box. And I don't know if you've ever unwrapped an Apple computer. The wrapping is beautifully designed. It's an adventure, opening all the little parts, and it all looks so pretty, layer by layer. And it's supposed to be like that, an experience as you open a new item. I don't know of any other company that does that, but Apple is brilliant at it. And I had that wonderful experience just a few weeks ago. It was a delight. So if there's a certain kind of magic in opening up parcels as they get delivered to the front door, I like IKEA packages too. Not because they're brilliant packaging, but because the contents are fun. But to me, there's nothing quite like the opening an Apple box for experience. Too bad it doesn't happen very often. But I suppose the magic wouldn't be as magical if it was a frequent thing. Moment number 5. And this might strike you as petty, too brief to create magic. But this is what it is for me. Every once in a while, a word will fly out of my mouth. A word that I didn't know I knew. Perhaps I read it in a book years ago. Perhaps I heard someone use it. It's not a word I've had to feel around for, or a word, if you asked me for the 10,000, 20,000 words in my vocabulary, I would have called it to mind. It just utters from my mouth. That gives me a sense of astonishment and awe that I have moments in my brain that are gifts to me. Maybe you feel that way about words too. We have that in us as toddlers. There's always a first time to use a word, but those moments are much rarer now as we get older because our vocabularies are set. We have experience with words, our words. But yeah, I always get surprised when a new one flings out of my mouth. And then sometimes I have to look it up just to be sure I know what I was talking about. And the strange thing is, I'm almost always right on point. Funny thing that, but I love those moments. They're testimony to my brain sparkle. And for me, that little spice, that zippity zap, that personal possession, it's mine. I get to have it. It doesn't belong to anyone else. And it's magic. Sparkle brain moment number 6. And I think many of you will recognize this. We'll see a picture of something or other on TV, in a big book, on our computers a wonderful looking place, a place that we can fantasize about. Perhaps a lagoon, sandy beach, palm trees, a ski slope in the Dolomites, white-capped peaks all around, red rocks swirling across the landscape, like a painter's palette. And we wonder, where is that? I wonder if I could go there. That's what I wonder. So I gotta look it up, see if I can go there, find out where it is. I need to know exactly on a map. This happened to me in the last few days, by the way. YouTube presented me with a video made by a young Tibetan girl. I saw that pop up on my screen and I had a thought, I wonder where that is. And who is that person? I think I'll click. And I clicked. And what happened? There was a young girl talking to her goats. I'm not kidding. She was a young Tibetan, and she lives in a humble place in a remote corner of Nepal. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Behind her, the snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas. In the foreground, her goat pen and a rocky riverbed in a gorge. This is clearly a humble place. Oh, and I was so fascinated, not the least because her English is actually quite fabulous. I wondered how that could be. Where did she learn it? But what was even more curious to me, she was talking to her goats in Tibetan. At least, I guess that's what she was talking. And she had a way of communicating even I could understand. Do I know Tibetan? Oh, no. But there she was, talking to them one by one. Oh, you have to see this video. In fact, it might be very helpful to her. It's clear a little pocket money from making videos on YouTube would go a long way right there. I'm going to put a link to her channel in the description. And then if you want to investigate, you know where to go to get a look. Her whole being, her whole context seems so remarkable. Something I could never have imagined observing as I began my day. And it excites me. It gives me a little bit of brain sparkle. Why? I discovered something new. It never occurred to me that I could be energized by a young woman chit-chatting with her goats in some far-off place that I would likely never go to. I really don't have a wish to go there, but I'm so glad I visited for a few moments online by the grace of my computer. And so she gave me brain sparkle. And maybe she'll give you a little too. Yeah, I'll put her link in the description. Special little moment number 7. This only takes place in the summertime. What can that be? Going to the farm stand. This is a farm stand that has a few more things than just what grows at that location. And yeah, it's only open in the summer. I could get local meat there if I wanted, a few choices, treats from a variety of local kitchens, some special hummus, maybe some cheese, and a freezer of locally homemade ice cream. But for me, it's about the vegetables and fruits. I love the aroma when I go in there. It has a dirt floor, so there's a kind of earthy smell as I enter. And then they're really good with tomatoes, and those are right as you go in. Very often there's a traffic jam right there. Beyond that, the beans and the peas, the zucchinis. I try to buy a different one than I'm used to, just so I have some variety. And then there's a gazillion types of green, beet greens, kale, of every variety, broccolini, broccoli, lazy lettuce, spinach, arugula. You know how it is. And then this time of year, they're starting to get potatoes. And they're not like the potatoes that you get from the grocery store that have been around for a bit and have smooth skins. These ones have more of a look that they've just been pulled out of the earth. Oh, nice and clean, yes, but fresh looking skin that hasn't been handled. And you know they'll be tasty. And then past all those, near the register, different kinds of fresh fruits. Right now it's Pennsylvania peaches. I love those. In a short while, it'll be specialty apples. I like some of those, not every variety, but there's plenty to choose from. And berries, that farm has those too. Oh, and I forgot the sweet corn. I'm not a fan myself, but I know people love it, and there are always customers pawing through those corn cobs. There's no reason I can't go there every day. It's not far from here, maybe 3 miles. Doesn't take me a moment to get there, and I eat so many vegetables, it's almost worth it. As it is, it might be every other day, every 3 days, just depending. Oh, and one other thing, and this makes it especially magical. I always try to get something that I've never tried before. Oh, and I've tried some weird things. Morocco flower. And then this year, we had kind of a ribbed zucchini. I've never seen anything like it before. But that's the point. It jazzes up my meals. Yeah, I eat a lot of vegetables, and it's so fantastic I can try new ones all the time. A little brain sparkle right there. I hope this is giving you all kinds of sparkly ideas, and you'll share them in the comments. Sometimes we can get a little bit down in the mouth, and it's always nice to have a resource of itty-bitty things, free things that we can do to give our day a little bit more oomph. So share your thoughts. And then I'll get to number 8. Number 8, maybe it's my favorite because it has to do with my little house. The day I found this lot, oh, it was just so magical. I've talked about that in another video. And what convinced me, above all else, the moment I set foot here, I could hear the birds singing. It was all about nature for me. The lot was festooned with huge trees, all kinds of vegetation. In fact, even the neighbors didn't know there was a lot here. And they couldn't imagine building on the tiny space they thought there was. It was dominated by nature, by life. And one of the most magical things is a serendipitous glance, and I noticed something that I would never have noticed except in that particular moment. It's the local cardinal alighting on my fence post in the middle of summer. I didn't know there could be cardinals in summer. I think of them with snow, but I see them then too. And then there was the time last year where it must have snowed 1.5 feet. The snowplows hadn't been through here yet. There was no boot path along the street. And I looked out, and there was a fox. Beautiful creature. A red fox. Tawny coat. Big fluffy tail. Cute face. And he was looking right at me. And here, for these moments before the snowplows came through, there was no differentiation between one side of the road and another. It wasn't a human place in that moment. It was a place where the wild could be wild. That would never have happened at another time. And yes, it sparkled my brain to see that, to get the pleasure of living in this little house and having an experience in the moment about the universality of life, creatures enjoying their spaces, maybe as much as I do. And for that, I'm really grateful for my little house and the space where it grew. And that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll talk soon, all right? See you then.